You guys don't respect our tradition, our beliefs, and culture in the Middle Belt. Why do you want respect when you do not respect other people's religion, beliefs, and cultural heritage or values? This is the message to the Fulanis by the Middle Beltans who felt aggrieved over the continued disparaging, disrespect of their culture, tradition, and beliefs by the Fulani Hausa people or fanatics who invade their territories and their regions, desecrating what they believe to be their cultural or traditional rights and beliefs or system of belief and culture. Just citing what happened in southern Kaduna in Zango, Kataf, the Aya people also share the same frustration as they condemn in its strongest terms the disrespect to their culture and system of belief by the House of Fulanis that desecrated their culture, what is called as the Rumbu, a system where they store or preserve foods for the next famine season so that they could feed their own families. And it's been abhorred that a stranger or female will have access to those reservoirs. But with this latest development, the Hausa Fulani tax masters invaded those reservoirs, cutting away with their food reserves without any regard or respect to their own culture and belief system. And that have raised serious conflicts within, of course, the southern Kadunas of the Aya people with the Hausa Fulanis and invaders or those who carted away those resources or reserve foods, use it to feed their camels and get away with that. So that brings us to the question, why and how do we get to this point? It's important in order to foster peace, unity, and respect or coexistence, people's fundamental right to existence, to life, must be respected at all times and also must be given the right value to life, the right to defend self, the right to argue someone's case. And this led to the question, why do you demand respect when you do not reciprocate the same to others? It is very mischievous and unfortunate that we're experiencing this, and this has been the foundation, the very basis for insecurity, religious intolerance is key, especially with the fundamentalists of those fanatics, religious fanatics, who believe that their religion is superior, their religion or perception about opinions bordering on religion is superb and is not subject to questioning or reasoning. It's very unfortunate, and this has brought us to this instability and religious intolerance that is at the highest peak being expressed within the Nigerian state, where you have seen and witnessed several churches being burnt down, the worshippers being rounded up and killed in the northern part of the country. I am yet to be convinced, I'm yet to be proven wrong, that in the entire southern part of the country, there have never been a time where you see worshippers in the mosques being rounded up and killed by the Southerners on the basis of religious fanaticism, religious radicalism. It has never happened in the history of the southern Nigeria. But unfortunately, this is a current occurring decimal repeatedly being witnessed with brazen impunities, most often being sponsored by those within the corridor of power. For instance, citing the Deborah murder, the most heinous murder of an undergraduate, by merely expressing her own opinion that the WhatsApp group that was created was not for religious activities, it was purely academics to discuss issues bordering on academics. And she was misunderstood, and that led to her death. She was not given the opportunity to express herself or to defend herself. And some persons were defending, even the then president Buhari said that, of course, she called it for herself, trying to justify the impunity, the destructive tendencies exhibited by these mobs who, on the basis of religiosity or religious fanaticisms, you see them defended even in their body language. You can't imagine where the DSS, the security operatives, were overpowered. We are told that they were overpowered by the mobs. You can imagine that. And they paved way. Nobody sustained gunshots. Nobody was carried out to deter people from taking laws into their hands. You see, Deborah was so brutally murdered, stoned to death, and set ablaze at the front of an institution of learning, an institution of morality, institution, higher institution or citadel of learning. You can imagine this were not done by people, the Alamajiris or those radicals, people that perhaps they may say have never had the opportunity to see the four walls of the class or have access to Western education. This is college of education. It's quite unfortunate. That shows the extent and the level this indoctrination has been deeply, of course, sink into these fundamentalists or these radicals. It is not just about exposure to education, even if they could behave in such unruly manner, such primitive, awkward, and archaic way of taking life in this modern time. Now, what happens to those primitive regions or areas, or perhaps the less privileged who were not opportune to have access to education? It's very important. You can understand that this radicalism, this fanatism, is beyond the concept of education. It is inborn, being infused from the childhood, and education do not sweep it away, except for very few who are liberal by their own exposure and perception. They don't want to align with such extremism or religious extremism being expressed by the Muslim faithfuls. It's very unfortunate. Now, this is calling for a sober reflection and a scrutiny. Why should Nigeria be a secular state? And yet, religious intolerance is at the height of most recent, or in the recent past, Nigeria was listed among those member states that has less tolerance for religious, of course, the right to expression of people's uh, religious beliefs. And eventually, during Obama time, I mean, during Biden's time, it was delisted from that, and that forms the major front burners of Trump's campaign. That those regions, those countries where there is high level of religious intolerance, killings related to religious fanaticism, fundamentalists, must be vehemently opposed by the White House or Washington, D.C. Upon assuming office, those religious violations of people's rights must be well tackled, and Christianity and other religions must be defended. And the right to free will, the right to choose your religion affinity, affiliations, or expressions must be strongly upheld, and his own dispensation and governments must ensure that this is being respected. Or any people or government violating such must be brought to book. And this is the time we are as the inauguration of the new government in the United States of America. The White House, of course, gears up towards such epoch-making or historic event, uh, which defines the return of Mr. Trump in the Oval Office. There are much to expect, bordering on religious impacts and reflections, and of course, down to political and economic matters as far as American interest is concerned. Now, religious tolerance is key and fundamental in building peace, tranquility, fairness, and justice. Everybody must be perceived to be equal before the law and must be accorded the right to life, the right to expression, and the right to religious affinity or affiliation or expression of opinion. Now, most times we have seen especially within the Nigeria, the reason why there is less tolerance of religion is because of the feeling that certain people are inferior, as some regions or beliefs or religion is being considered infidel. You see, that extremism is very condemnable, where even your fellow citizens, supposed citizen of the same country, is being considered unworthy to live, worthless, irresponsible, in fact, more destructive, more to an enemy that does not deserve to live on basis of religious extremism, not on the basis of violating any known civil law or constitution within the Nigeria. The Constitution of Nigeria protects and upholds the fundamental right of the people to self-determination, to self-expression, self-preservation, self-actualization. But that seems to be, of course, usurped by certain powers of vested interests. Even the government sometimes play lip service to this by condoling those perpetrators of this heinous crime, not deterring others by bringing them to justice. It's quite unfortunate. We've seen that more pronounced during Buhari's era, where you see spies of killing, invasions by the Fulani militias, believed to be or claimed to be herders, and yet you see the body language of Buhari not being moved or perturbed by the level of killings and assault, massacre by his own native people. So, how do you want such country to move forward? How do you want such country to continue as one? It's very disturbing and quite unfortunate. You can't in any way force a people and subjugate them to believe what you think based on your limited knowledge to be the best. You should allow people, of course, to question the veracity of your session. And if that is not necessary, then allow people to express their own belief and opinion regarding such is very important based on their own perception and religion. And the feeling of conquest is very important. Conquest mentality, when they feel that some people or persons are conquered territories, subjugated, oppressed, suppressed, so they are not allowed to express their own religious opinions and beliefs or even practice their own religious affiliations or convictions. Is very unfortunate. That mentality of conquest, that the conqueror or perceived conqueror seems not to allow or respect the religious rights, opinions, or traditions of those they believe they have conquered. So that is a respite for crisis, is a respite for disaster, is a respite for national disintegration. Because if you believe that others were conquered based on your own perceptions, or they have no right to certain rights and privileges, is quite unfortunate. Now you are operating in double standard or two different constitution. It's very unfortunate. And according to the Nigerian laws, that the Sharia law should be restricted to the states where Sharia is being practiced. And of most recent, you've seen where even at the National Assembly, where policies and implementations of such policies are being devised, created, you see them arguing that Sharia law should be extended not just as a personal law bordering on religious and interactions, relations, but be extended to the entire regions of the country and be adopted as a national law, even when they are aware that the same constitution of Nigeria upholds other people's opinion about religion or perception and culture. So they want to silence other people's religion and perspective using the instrumentality of Sharia. If Sharia has really worked for them, why is the North underdeveloped? Why are there highest concentration of impoverished people, less privileged, retarded people, populations within the North? Why has the corruption index not been reduced within the public office holders? People who loot their own country, who loot their own state, institutions under their control to stupor and impoverish the masses. Why has Sharia not gone after the fraud or addressed the crisis, the menace, the killings, the security in the northern part of the country where those laws are being practiced? Now, what is the benefit of this Sharia that could be extended to other parts of the country? Then something must be of benefit. People may have seen how you have enjoyed the same benefit and will willingly even adopt it without you pushing or forcing it on them. If they have seen the benefit of Sharia, perhaps improving the living standard of livelihood of all the northerners or the state that practices it, they have a good living conditions, they live in peace, in serenity, in prosperity. If Sharia have achieved that for them, the entire people of the South would have been calling for that without even asking for that. But the question, it had failed to address the deficit in human development, in security, and development, economic development, and stability in the North. So, what is the essence of extending it to other regions if they that have not addressed the fundamental needs of human? which is shelter, food, clothing, security, and welfare of the all, of course, within the region. What is the essence of getting what will not be of benefit to you? You want to force it on others. It's very important we continue, of course, this argument and the discussions and learn how to strike balance as far as issues are concerned. Just as the middle belt have people has raised concerns that why you guys are not respecting our traditions, beliefs, and cultures, and you want us to respect yours. How comes that is possible? You want respect, but you don't want to give the same respect. So how could we form a united front? How could we forge a common front to build an egalitarian society? It's impossible. It's an impossible, of course, uh, attainment, and this there is no possibility of that fostering. That is the argument, and it is very unique and unbiased. Let's get to know what is your own take. The extent of damage done by religious fanaticism is quite alarming and very outrageous, very unbearable within the Nigerian state. And to address this is very important. As the Fulanis believe they have conquered the Hausas and other minority within the region and perhaps have dominance over them in terms of economy and control of power within the north, as some Hausas have arguably believed that their own Sariki had been sidelined, imposing the emirate, of course, governance or style of leadership upon them. And some of them are waking up this moment to oppose such that they want their own system and culture that have been fast eroded are back. They want to, of course, have a self-appraisal and come back to their senses. And considering that too late might be very prejudicial or being, of course, very fast in conclusion. Well, let's see how that goes. And that, of course, has been respite to crisis. Of most recent, you saw the Chief of Defense Staff categorically stating publicly that the crisis engulfing the Northwest is staying at the conflict, on any conflict between the Fulanis and the Hausas. And we must say the truth, and that is the fact. This is the submission of the Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa. And if he can say that, who am I to disbelieve him? And for these reasons, of course, we must rise as a people to redefine our very existence. If we can be united based on the basis of culture, religion, and nationhood, then there is no need for the continued existence of Nigeria. The better for humanity is to vulcanize this as being maintained by several strong personalities within and across the Nigeria. Just as Jimmy Carter, the Carter that died of recent, also argued, calling the then head of state, go on. If you continue to kill these people, forcing your own will, forcing the unity of Nigeria, or by coercion on them, how many people will be preserved to become the one Nigeria? Unfortunately, today, the home country of Gawan has been raided, invaded, and several casualties, people's ancestral homes been reoccupied by the same people in collaboration fought against the Biafrans. It's very unfortunate that we must come back to our senses and redefine what unites us. And of course, it's become possible discuss, of course, the continued existence of Nigeria. If people decide to move on with their lives, so let it be in the interest of peace, equity, and fairness.